Hello, welcome back to Juneteenth. I am here. I have the distinct pleasure of introducing to you a veteran who is hailing to us right now from Fayetteville, North Carolina, the birthplace of George Floyd. And she is a full-time or full-stack Java developer. She's actually spoken for us already here on Juneteenth, and she's back for round 2. I can go on and on about her accomplishments, and rather than do that, and you are worthy of that, but I want to give you as much time as possible to really impart to us what you have. So without further ado, I'm going to turn the stage over to our illustrious guest, Mo.
Thank you so much, Lance, for such a glowing intro. I appreciate that. All right, well, welcome back. I'm so happy that everybody's still here enjoying Juneteenth. It's the best. So let's continue to enjoy this holiday and continue to network, share, and build together. So as he introduced me, I'm Mo Hampton, and this talk is about giving back to tech without burnout. This is kind of a part 2 to my first talk that I gave earlier, which was just about breaking into tech. And I hit a lot in that talk about giving back to your community. And that's something I'm very passionate about and something I would like to speak more about. But, you know, with every positive, there's a little bit of negative on the other end, kind of like a battery. You know, you got to have that equilibrium kind of thing going on. So as you go in, try to volunteer for stuff, let's make sure that we try to avoid burnout. So you got the job, right? Now you're ready to give back. So you did it. You're a software engineer. You went through the whiteboard sessions. You aced it. Like, you kicked butt. And they have invited you on board. And they said, you are it. Now you've made it through the gatekeeping. You've made it through that door. And you're excited. You know that you got the stuff. And you want to give back now. Well, let's just hold up before you go into a new nonprofit and you start giving your expertise and all of your energy to them. Kind of like We Got Y'all, if you've ever seen that show, Insecure. Issa Rae, she starts giving to this nonprofit and starts to realize some of these different things that she should have seen before she jumped on board with this nonprofit. So in this talk, we will cover ways that you can continue to volunteer without spreading yourself too thin, tips to include how do you give your talent without depleting yourself completely, who should you volunteer for, or how should you volunteer, more like. And then maybe we'll tap a little bit into the GitHub and see if there's any type of way you can do open source contributions for a newbie. And what projects will you choose for great impact? And then lastly, how do you say no? It's an art. It is an art. So here we have givers and volunteers. So giving back to the community is an act that is accomplished usually through volunteerism, right? So people choose to volunteer for a variety of reasons. Some might want to give back to the community to make a difference around them for impact, like really closely in proximity to where they live. Others might see it as an opportunity to skill up or level up. So as I'm volunteering, I'm teaching, I must know it. So if I'm teaching, I'm knowing, I'm growing, we are building up together as a community. Regardless of your motivation, what unites this all is that we both find it like both things are challenging and rewarding. That's the reason why you're going into it. You know it's going to be a little bit of challenge, but you know there's going to be a great reward behind it. And right now, we've probably seen like the most increase of volunteerism that we've seen recently. Outside of the protests, we've seen people like when COVID first hit, just volunteering for making masks, for getting out there and to help out, for the tech side of it, building dashboards so we can see, helping people understand what the data means. Oh, can I get a check real quick? I think I dropped. Can you guys see me out there?
Hey, Mo.
Yes.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you see me? Yeah, I think your picture is frozen a bit here. We can hear you for certain.
I can hear you. Oh, okay. I can hear you, but I guess my picture froze. Is
Um,
it
what do you have on your screen right now?
on my screen? I have givers equals volunteers.
We see that. Try changing your to your next slide. Let's see if your slide follows. Okay, so your slide is working. We're just not seeing your video.
Okay. Do you suggest I restart it real quick, or to get my video in, or?
That's a good question. I'd say if you can see your video, if you can see your slides, and we're able to see your slides, continue. We've got a nice, beautiful picture of you on the screen. So
that's a nice frozen picture. All right, we'll continue on. It's showing
go
on, right?
As long as you can see your slides, and we can go. Go ahead.
All right, that works for me.
All right.
So, as I was saying, the pieces that we're going to talk about is how volunteerism right now has increased just outside of COVID, and how we have been able to see those dashboards being put out there. And then not only just the COVID piece, but just the racial injustices that we've seen. And then also just everything against police brutality right now. So we've seen an increase of volunteerism, and we want to continue to give back to our communities to build and repair. Although givers are usually the most valuable people in the community, they're also at the greatest risk for burnout. So we want to be mindful of that. So according to the Harvard Business Review, it's a little article, or a 6-part series that they did about generosity burnout. They said when givers don't protect themselves, their investments in others can cause them to feel overloaded and fatigued. They fall behind on their work goals and face more stress and conflict at home. Generosity means caring about others, but not at the expense of caring about yourself. So, you got to protect yourself from the exhaustion that you may feel. You might feel like you're not given as much, but yet you'll actually be given more once you start to pull back a little bit and really monitor yourself. You want to avoid burnout at all costs. So what is burnout? Burnout, or volunteer burnout, is very similar to job burnout or any other type of stress or burnout that you can have. But volunteer burnout, you're just not getting paid. You're doing all this work, but you're not getting paid, and then you're burning yourself out. So it manifests in different ways. It can be your physical, your mental exhaustion. You can feel hopeless while it's going on, mood swings, and anxiety. Burnout has been around, but right now, especially at a time when we are coming out of quarantine, people are phasing out of it. The digitally distracted lifestyles have amplified the problem. So although COVID and quarantine was something that we had to do to protect and save lives, I don't know if we would have had the impact that we had with Black Lives Matter and defunding the police, stopping police brutality, if people weren't strapped to their phones, to social media, and being at home and having their eyes wide open to actually see and feel this. But it works the same way with stress and burnout. So you don't have any other distractions right now. All these things are happening at the same time. So you want to be mindful of it. So when you're encountering the burnout, there's some stress and guilt that might settle in, and then that kind of kills your enthusiasm and your passion for giving back. And that starts to fade. Sometimes this cycle will continue, and you will eventually quit your volunteer role and give up on the whole idea. You might be deciding if it's maybe better suited for people who have more time and more capability than your capacity at that time for you. You doubt if you're even making a difference. You lost a sense of satisfaction you had in the beginning. And where's the fun in that? Who wants to continue to volunteer if those are the things that you're going to encounter with burnout? So there's ways to avoid this volunteer burnout. If you think that you already had a full-blown case of volunteer burnout, there are some steps you can take to get through it. First, identify and accept your current situation, right? Give yourself a break. Examine the reasons why this has happened. And once you've done that, you want to review how you spend your time and make the necessary adjustments. So I'm just saying it out loud, but it sounds so much easier than what it is. But you will need to take that knee sometimes and just figure out like exactly where do you want to put in. And finding out exactly where you want to put in your volunteerism is finding the stuff that's doing the consistently meaningful work. When you have a sense of purpose, you're likely, you're less likely to feel the need of artificial boosts and bad habits. So that stress will stay down. So you're actually following your passion. You have a purpose. You know what your output is once you start to volunteer from that. What generally burns people out the most is not getting recognition for their hard work or feeling like their work doesn't matter. So make sure that when you're volunteering in something that you know matters. You know that's going to have an impact on the community. While you're doing that, make sure you make time for your physical renewal. One of the things that I have increased, especially during COVID and quarantine, is appreciating nature just a little bit more than I did before. I mean, before it was always you get ready, you get in your car, or you go, grab your coffee, you go to work, you come back. And maybe you might go for a walk in the neighborhood. I doubt it. But now, ever since COVID hit, I generally walk the neighborhood probably every other day. I'm going on hikes with the family. We're loving and enjoying it. So that's something that you need to incorporate. Not only that, I had a software lead in my past organization. His name was John, and he used to just crack me up so much. But he was sharp as a whip. And I would always ask, like, how are you staying on top of this, John? And he would tell me nature walks. Just make sure you take a nature walk. Whenever you get stomped, don't just keep hitting your head against the wall. Take that time. Take a walk, come right back, and you'll feel renewed and refreshed and ready to hack at it again. You also want to lean on your support network. Ask your friends if they notice a change in you. If you're feeling like you're overwhelmed, more than likely you're exhibiting those behaviors to your friends and your inner circle, and they're noticing it too. They may not say something initially because they're seeing that you're trying to be a go-getter and you're trying to be helpful and whatnot. But have that conversation with them and say, hey, am I different? Do you think that things are like impacting me in a negative way? And they might be able to help you out and tell you, yeah, you need to take a step back. Or even better, you might be able to pull them in. So you might be able to say, hey, did you want to go volunteer with me this weekend or next week or something like that? And then now you're making it something where you're lightening your load, but you're still having an opportunity to give back. And ask others if they're willing to help. I love squad. I don't know if you listened to my last talk. I told everybody, and I'm kind of a little embarrassed, but I mean, if you can't be the Beyonce in your own life, then what are you doing? So I was saying how I consider myself a Beyonce, and I need my stands to be behind me sometimes to help me out, especially when I have those down minute moments and I need somebody to pick me up. So make sure you squat up. Preserve your energy. Distribute some of that giving and that load amongst your friends. Because more than likely, if you have friends that, you guys have common interests, you're probably going to have the same type of common volunteerism. Like these are the things you want to give in. And even some of your friends who aren't in tech yet, you can bring them in that way by starting to volunteer. One of the ones I love to do is Black Girls Code because they have a lot of introductory courses. So even if my friend may not know that much about coding or circuit building or anything else of the science concepts or tech concepts that we do in Black Girls Code, it's so broken down that anybody can be able to learn it. You can learn it within a week and then be able to teach it and help out the girls. And then you have other tech instructors to help you out. So bring your squad in. So not only when you bring them in, now you're amplifying your impact by looking for ways that multiple people can be able to donate or be able to have a single act of generosity. And you can make it events, like I said earlier. You can chunk your giving into dedicated days or blocks of time rather than sprinkling it through the week. You'll be more effective and more focused when you actually have your squad with you. But the one thing that we have to actually keep in mind is the gender gap. I know this might not need to be said, or some people have already experienced it, but for a lot of women, it's really easy for us to be placed in roles where we give more, we're used to being nurturing, to giving a lot, to sacrificing for others. But the thing is, when you do this, we don't get that time back. We don't get that time back for our own work. We don't get that time back for our professional development or the opportunities to volunteer for higher visibility initiatives. So it kind of hinders us, even though we're giving back to the community. Just be mindful of that gap, and especially if you have others around you. So for women, you have to kind of shift that balance. And what that means is setting boundaries and being selfless. The art of saying no, which we'll talk a little bit later. We'll talk about mastering that and how you can shift that a little bit and tell people no, and maybe even get paid. So what do we do? Do we want to volunteer in person or contribute to open source projects? Now, this is up to you. Some people, especially with majority of my software engineers, we happen to be more of introvert types. So it might be easier for us to be able to contribute to open source, to go into a code repo, fix some things, do some UI, build some tests or whatnot, and ship that out. And then we know that we contribute. Or like I said earlier, some of us, we like to go to like Black Girls Code, Girls Who Code. If you listen to Jerome's talk earlier, there's Vets Who Code that you can be able to, there's so many different organizations, but you can also be able to give back by helping in person and doing these technical things to get others on board. Excuse me. So here, I know a lot of people, and especially if you're on the other channel, and you might be able to watch it later, but Brian Douglas, and he is from GitHub, and he's actually showing people how to make GitHub contributions to open source. So if you want to switch over to that, you can go see that, or you can stay here and you can go watch that later. But but GitHub, you can be able to easily contribute. Here is an example of a repo that for somebody who just wants to learn how to do a pull request, make that change to the code, and then submit it back and get a PR review. This is a great starting repo to do that in. So what I want to do real quick, I want to see if this is going to be an issue or not. Sorry. I'm going to share another Chrome tab and see if I can show you how easy it is to start with GitHub. So here we are, we're at the homepage for GitHub. This is almost like live coding. You always are a little hesitant that you're gonna mess up as you live code, but I think I got this. So one easy way to find different ways to contribute to in GitHub, and this is my way to find something, especially during Hacktoberfest, which is in October, what it kind of calls all developers out to be able to contribute back to open source. I would go through GitHub and I would look for a different topic. So you see in the URL up here, you can have your different topic. So right now, I guess a good topic I've been talking about now would be, let's talk COVID, because I know there's a lot of dashboards and code out there. So here we have all of the COVID open topics that come underneath GitHub. And a good way is to scroll down and to see who has an open issue. So it's an easy flag that says, hey, we need help here. And this is actually, Ivan has done a good job of saying what it is that he needs. Okay. And he's breaking it down pretty well here. So he's put an issue out there and told us that he needed any help appreciated right now with some of the algorithms and React parts for their unit end-to-end testing. Okay, cool. So you're like, oh, I think I can contribute to that. Not too bad. You can go to the repo. And what you're going to look for next is just to make sure they have an extensive README. Oh, this is nice. He's actually got the graphics going. Okay, Ivan. So you go here and you can go into the README file and it would show you the different things that they have integrated into this repo, the information behind it. He has a very nice overview of this team. I don't want to say it was just him. It's probably a whole team of people putting this together. The user guide here, not bad. And if you wanted to go ahead as the developer's guide, go ahead and quick start. It tells you what you need to do this on your own box. So you could be able to use Git, JS, as yarn. So of course you can Git clone it, and you can start developing from there. Open it up, see what the ticket is. Has a nice directory structure. But I just wanted to show you how easy it is just to look at one, figure out what the issue is, and then you can break it down to small parts and kind of figure out from there how you can contribute to that. So I'm going to go back to the slides. Here we go. All right. So if you already have a case, let's just go back to talking about burnout. And you already have a case, a full-blown case of burnout. There are some steps that you can take to get through it. We already talked about to identify and to assess and to take it back. But there's a point where you just got to say no. You just have to say no. It's okay. There's other opportunities. You can let other people shine during that moment. But there is a time where you can say no. You can walk. I'm giving you the permission. If my camera was working right now, I would be pointing you in your eye and telling you that I am giving you the permission to walk away and say no sometimes from volunteering. Make peace with what you're doing and go with it. If it means, one project or volunteer effort, if it means 5 or 6 are not good for you, know what you need to do to have a firm no, and don't go back. If you say no to this one volunteer opportunity, it's okay, walk away from it, but don't be wishy-washy about it, because then you're gonna have people coming back over and over again thinking that they might be able to persuade you, negotiate with you, or change your mind back. Remember that to never say yes on the spot. Just take your time, figure out if it's feasible for you, if it's something that you can fit into your schedule, and really have a meaningful response like, yes, I can do this, or yes, I will try to do it next week, or a solid no. Not every moment of your free time needs to be scheduled. I am screaming and attacking at somebody because I know a lot of us developers, we will go into this and we would think that now that we're doing this, we need to schedule all of our time. I'm passionate about it. I'm ready to go. I'm scheduling every single minute. Do not do that. That's how I felt susceptible to burnout, and that's how this talk came about. But try to avoid trying to put in every moment. It's a new passion. Enjoy it, but don't overload it. Stop comparing yourself to tech influencers. I love Instagram. I love seeing all the great stuff that's happening in Twitter. But there's no competition. There's room for everybody. Do not compare your efforts to somebody else that is doing something else. Yet, even to TikTok, like I'm not even going there. I'm too old for TikTok, but TikTok looks smooth the way that the new influencers of tech are using that platform. I love it, but you can't compare yourself. Just do what you can. So last thing I will say, generosity means caring about others, right? But not at the expense of caring about yourself. So just remember, like, although you are volunteering, and we know volunteering is not a paid thing, in the Black community, we have a bad habit or a routine of being able to negotiate or say that I'm doing this because I'm getting my foot in the door. I'm going to be an unpaid intern for 1.5 years just because I wanted to get my foot in the door. I'm going to work for free on this project, although I know they should be paying for a developer. Or there's one that just boggled me recently about Twitter and their accessibility. They had people volunteering to make sure that things are accessible. And I don't understand why that's not a paid gig. So there's certain things that you can volunteer, but there is a point where you have to say, okay, I've given a lot, and I know this is a gig. Even if I don't get paid, I highly suggest that you put somebody in this position, if possible, to get paid. So know when to give and know when you need just to get paid. So that pretty much sums up my talk for giving back without burnout. I want to see if anybody else has any questions out there for me or if there's anything else. Hi, Lance. You're on mute, Lance. I know it's in the day. We just want to get the Freedom Festival. We just want to get the Freedom Festival, and we want to go out. We don't. The camera stopped. The mic's not working. We're ready to celebrate.
Okay. Well, we've got a beautiful picture of you right now. Now I do have a question. How do you handle missed deadlines or deadlines that you see approaching, especially when you're volunteering? And you're approaching that due date, but you're not done, nowhere near it. Can you give some advice as to how to handle something like that?
Yes, communication is key in that scenario, because it's not just you that's dependent on